Right, so the time has come. We've got to sell some cars. There is just too much going on in the barn that needs paying for. And unfortunately, I lost my job at the back end of last year, so I've got no money coming in to spend on any of the projects. Now, we've got Barn Find and we've got the press car, which I really wanted to get on the road this year. So I need to free up some cash, and I think the best way to do that is to sell a car or two. Now, I'm sure that's music to barn wife's ears, but kind of grown attached to some of these. So we've got to make a choice. Something has got to go. But what car? That's the question. There's a lot in here. And to be honest, there's a whole bunch that you guys haven't seen before either. So I think to free up the money to pay for the welding on the bottom of the press car and the engine rebuild, and to get Barn Find back on track, I think we're going to need to take a creative approach to raising some cash from the barn. And no, I'm not talking about OnlyFans. Hidden behind the beige Jetta coupe, at the back of the barn, we have got a 1991 Volkswagen Golf driver in pearl grey metallic. So let's get it dragged out of the barn and hosed down. Now with the Golf out of the barn, you can clearly see we're going to need to wash this off because it's got years of barn grime and filth where it's just been sat at the back, unloved and uncared for at the back of the barn. So I guess next thing we've got to do before we take it round the other side and get it in to look what we're up against is give it a clean. Now that looks 10 times better already. Now at the moment I can't drive through the barn. We've got a wall in the way, which we are going to take down to kind of give us a bit more space and make the barn a bit more usable. But for now, we're going to have to drag it around the other side because this car does not run under its own steam. There's an engine in the bay, but it's not connected, and I'll show you that in a little bit. Now this is the first time I've ever sat behind the wheel of this car, and I think I've had it for about 10 or 11 years. So it's good to finally get this thing moving, even if it is just being towed by Sam's big green truck. Oh, that's hot in there. Where's the aircon, Sam?
In there.
Oh, mate. Yeah, that's a bit warm, but yeah. We'll get it pushed in the barn, and Sam's trying to get me demonetized with a beautiful shot.
Oh, Krakatoa, yeah.
Yeah, Mountain Krakatoa. So he's trying to, so we're going to get this pushed backwards into the barn, and yeah, that's going to be where it's going to sit while we get it done. Now with the Golf in its new home, let's have a little look around it. What is it? Why have I got it? How did it end up in the barn? Where has it been for the last 11 years? So this is a 1.6 Golf driver. I got this car off a friend of mine who needed a car. So I kind of part-exed in my Polo 16 valve for this and some cash. This was supposed to be running and driving, but it wasn't. I ended up picking this up from Bristol on a trailer. Needless to say, this car hasn't run since, and I've not talked to that guy since either. Yeah, so let's have a look and see what we've got. We've got a pearl grey metallic 1991 5-door Golf driver. Now, the bodywork is probably going to need a couple of bits of touching up and some paintless dent removals in places. So we've got a little bit on that rear quarter, which I'm sure a decent dent guy could sort out. And there's some other bits and pieces too. There's a bit down in the driver's door and the bonnet. Looking at the bonnet, you can see we've got this bit here as well. So hopefully, again, a dent guy can sort that out, because otherwise the bonnet's pretty clean. It's got the typical Mark II Golf ding on the front wing here. Again, maybe that can be polished, maybe that's going to need to be painted. Now, as we look at the door, there's a bit of a ding here and one here as well. Now, they've gone through on the paint, so I've got to decide what to do. Can I find another pearl grey metallic door? Well, you know I'm going to be calling Matt Palmer as soon as I finish filming this video to see if he's got one at Mark II Spares. Otherwise, we're going to have to look at repairing this, painting the door, and then are we going to have to blow into the wing, maybe into the other door, into the bonnet? I don't know. Yeah, so hopefully that's an easy fix. But looking at the rest of the car, it's pretty straight. So hopefully a little bit of paintwork, a few dents that need removing, and we're pretty much good to go as far as the bodywork goes. Except there is one bit that's hiding around the back. And let me show you. Just down here, we've got a little ding in the top of the rear panel here. Unfortunately, it looks like it's been backed into something over the years. Again, this was like it when I got it. And at the time, running and driving it would have been worth 400 quid. So it wasn't worth doing back then. But now, it's going to be worth sorting out, because although this car isn't going to be a show car, it's not going to be perfect. I want it to be a nice driver that someone could just get in and just daily this thing. So the odd little bump on and scrape around it isn't the end of the world, but it's still got to be nice and presentable, and that definitely needs fixing. So we might give that a go at the barn. If not, we'll get someone in to do it, or we'll give it a go at the barn, and if I cock it up, then I'll get someone in to do it. So bodywork wise, we're pretty good. Now, the only other thing to think about on the exterior is wheels and tires. That's right, we've just got some weird rollers on it, whatever we had kicking around the barn, just to keep this car mobile. So we need to sort something out. What have we got? Well, there's a fine selection of wheels in the barn. I'm sure we can find something, but we need to do the wheels. We're going to need to look at the suspension as well. Now, when we look at the interior, we've kind of got a bit of a blank canvas to play with. But again, bearing in mind, this is going to be a real budget build. We don't want to go over the top with it. We need to keep this standard. So again, probably a trip down to see Matt. As we look through the window, we can see that actually, yeah, there's a box I was sat on to drag it round. We've got half the back seat missing, but we've got the door cards. The dash is in place and it doesn't look like it's damaged, but the headlining has obviously seen better days. So not a lot to tackle in here. Some seats, a headlining, and a clean. Doesn't sound too bad. Now, I noticed it's got black pillars, so I might go for one of the eBay black headliners. Probably the easiest thing to do, probably the most cost effective. For £190, probably cheaper than getting someone to trim one for me. So again, I think that's probably the best option. 190 quid, headlining, some seats, and we're good to go. And I might have an idea for that, but we'll come back to that probably in the next video. So we've covered wheels, we've covered the bodywork, we've covered the interior. Now, I guess the last thing to look at is the reason this car came off the road. That's right, it's hiding in the engine bay. And so we need to have a look and see how bad this thing is. And just before I pop that bonnet, do me a favor, like the video, subscribe to the channel. It really does help. And if you press the notification bell, you'll get to know when we upload the next part of this video, which is going to be pretty soon. This isn't going to be one of these ones that's going to drag on 4 years. No, I need to get this done quickly to get some cash in. So this car is going to be finished, hopefully, in the next 4 to 8 weeks. That's the plan. And when you see the next couple of videos, you'll see how we're going to do this so quickly. So let's take a look under the bonnet and see why this car has been off the road for the best part of 10, maybe 11 years. So looking under here, we've got a very sorry looking engine bay. I mean, for some reason, the top of the Dizzy's missing. We've got no coolant pipes. The carburettor is missing. Yeah, it's not looking happy in here, is it? Now, when I got this car, it was supposed to be running and driving. And when I went to pick it up, it looked like this. So, as you can imagine, I wasn't best pleased with the state of the car or my friend who I bought it off. Now, being the good guy that I was, I did the deal. I let him take it. And I just really fell out of love with this. I mean, at the time, it was probably only worth £400 running and driving. But in the 10 years that it's been hiding in the back of the barn, we've got barnflation. That's right. The value of these things has gone up. So now running and driving, this would probably be worth about £2,000 as it sits. You know, a 1.6 Golf Driver 5-door on a J plate, probably going to be worth a couple of quid. Now, if I do an engine swap, it's probably going to be worth a little bit more. Can I get this thing up to maybe £5,000 by doing an engine swap and a couple of little tasteful modifications to really add some value to this car and make it a super cool retro daily driver for someone? Well, that's the plan. So we need to pick an engine swap. Now, I'm in the barn. There is a lot of cars here. And we've got everything here from PD 130s. We've got running and driving 1.6 driver engines, 1.8 driver engines, R32 engine, 1.8Ts. We've got a whole host of everything. There's even that G60 on the engine stand as well. So there's a lot of engines to choose from, but I need something that's going to be super cost effective that I can do here in the barn for not much money, or that you could do at home for not much money too. So I think for me, there is only one clear choice as to what we're going to put in this car. Now, let me know what you think down in the comments. Now, the first thing I need to do is take this engine out. If you've been with the channel a while, you know that I've done that on a live stream, and it wasn't the best of times. This car, it looks like it's been thrown back together, so hopefully this engine should come out nice and easy, but I'm not gonna subject you to a 3-hour live stream of me trying to take this engine out. Don't worry, we're gonna do that in the next video. In the next video, you'll also find out what we've decided to put in here as well. We've got a huge choice of engines, and I know exactly what we're gonna do. It's a great conversion. I think I may have even mentioned it on my donor car video. Now, as I said, this project is gonna move at some pace. These videos aren't gonna hang about, so make sure you've subscribed, make sure you press that bell notification, because the next video on this will be out pretty soon. And if it is out, you'll see it here. If not, YouTube will probably have shown you something that it thinks you might like. Keep an eye out for the next update, and I'll see you soon.